Remember this infographic from the earlier videos of the course? In this lecture, I would like to introduce to you the concept of creating, modifying, and saving the files to computer storage. Every time you write a Python program and save it, the Python code file gets saved onto a location on your computer. On a side note, it always helps if you organize your files into different folders instead of having all of them in the same folder. Alright, when you open idle on your computer, it gets loaded onto the computer RAM. You can open editor window and start writing your code. When you try to save your program, that is when your code residing in computer random access memory or RAM gets written to the storage devices of the computer as .py files. Even though you switch off the power, the files are safely stored in the storage devices, ready to be retrieved once the computer powers up. The moment you open the file, the contents of the file are loaded into computer's working memory, which is RAM. Now, let us see how Python interpreter interacts with files saved on computer disk. Whenever you're dealing with files in your Python program, you would be doing it in 3 steps: opening the file, processing the file, and closing the file. Let me walk you through all these steps in detail. When you open a file using Python code, the program creates a connection to the file if it exists in the specified location. The 2 arguments of the open function that opens a file are filename and mode. Filename specifies the name of the file to open. If you only specify the name of the file and not the path, Python assumes the file is located in the same folder as the script file. If the file is present in a different folder than the folder in which the Python script is saved in, you will have to use full file location. But we will run into problems, especially on Windows computer, because the file name consists of backslashes, which are also used for escape sequences like /n for new line and /t for tab space, which you have seen earlier. Hence, as a workaround, you can specify the letter R in front of the file name string. This tells Python interpreter to read the file name as a raw string. Alright, when opening a file, we will also need to consider the mode in which we will use the file. There are 3 modes in which you can open the file. To open a file just to read the contents of it, pass in R as the mode. Okay, so R in quotes. To open a file and be able to write to it, pass in W as the mode. But you have to be careful. If the file already has data in it, the data will be erased and replaced by the program. Take a look at this example. I have a text file here which contains the numbers 1 to 5 in separate rows. I have this program that writes data to this file. The data is the number 6. When I run this program, instead of writing 6 to it, it overwrites all the contents and you only see the number 6 in it. If your intention is to append to the contents that are already present in the file, pass in A as the mode. Let me populate the text file with numbers 1 to 5 again, then rerun this program by changing the write mode to append mode, which is A in quotes. See that? Instead of overwriting the contents, the newly added content is appended to it. Earlier, I populated the text file directly with numbers 1 to 5. If you observe closely, after entering 1, I pressed the enter key, which took the prompt to new line. I repeated it for numbers 2 to 5 and closed it. Now let me walk you through this simple file writing program which replicates what I just did directly. I mentioned earlier that opening a file creates a connection to it. If you open a file in write or append mode, if the given file is not present, Python actually creates it and then opens it for you. But when you try to open a file in read mode and the file is not present in the folder, Python literally screams at you saying the file is not present in the folder. We shall see how to handle such exceptions in upcoming lectures, but for now, let me explain to you the concept for a file variable right here. This file variable points to a file object that is connected to the file on the computer storage. Like functions, which you have seen earlier in the course, the objects in Python have methods. Using methods, you can perform operations on the objects. For instance, you can write data to this file object this way. Alright, after writing the numbers to the file object, I have this line of code that closes the connection to the file object. This is very important. Have you ever had this pop-up message saying file opened in a different application, cannot modify it, etc.? As long as the connection to the file is active, other programs will not be able to access this file. Python will not automatically close a file for you when you're finished. If you opened a connection to a file, it is your responsibility to close it as well. Now let's see what contents are written to the file when we run this code. Oops, looks like the new line characters are missing here. Let me quickly add them in the program right after the numbers. And there you go. This would display the numbers in separate lines in the text file. More of reading and writing files in next lecture.